Welcome to episode 5 of Geno's Guys. As always, I'm your host, Connor, joined by Matt and Andrew. The whole gang's back for the next episode. And this is a fun one. It's our first recap of the year. We have a game to recap. The Husky season started on Thursday when they defeated Boston University 86-32. An absolute blowout. We all expected it, but it's good to finally see it happen. Sarah Strong was a star, the freshman in her debut, 17 points, 6 steals. Really looked like someone that wasn't playing in their first college game, looked like a veteran out there. We'll talk about the rest of the players as well, but just I want to ask you guys, what's your thoughts about this game? Because obviously we knew what was going to happen. We knew the outcome, but it's just to finally see it happen, see a 54-point win on opening night, it's pretty special.
Yeah, definitely a lot of encouraging signs from everybody. I like, we mentioned previously, played BU, not the greatest competition, but small signals from everyone that they seem to be on track. I thought Caitlin Chen was, phenomenal at playing her role, and I thought just coming in and starting like that in her first game as a Husky, not sure if it's gonna stay like that with Fudd coming back, but I think she slotted in pretty well. Obviously, didn't fill up the box score necessarily, but I think she played a fantastic role along with Sarah Strong, as you mentioned. To me, looked like, maybe the best player out there. It's crazy to say that a first game freshman could have been the best player on the court, but you knew the hype with her, and she's definitely proven it.
This is kind of a weird game to recap because it's not necessarily like a hard game. I mean, it was BU and we won by 54, but there are obviously a lot of highlights. And this wasn't a game where you need to pad the stat sheet either. I mean, do I think that if Geno left the starters out there, that Paige could have been in 30, Chen could have been up probably to 20? Yeah, but there's really no need for that. What I'm most impressed by, and what I think that a lot of Husky fans are most impressed by, is Jana Alfy and her 17 points and 11 rebounds in her first official, per se, collegiate game in her technically second year, but redshirt freshman year. She looked like a beast. I mean, she just looked unstoppable. Like she could score at will. She probably could have put 50 on him if she played upwards of 35 minutes. But I think that they put her on the bench just because, still obviously Achilles injury is, if not the hardest, one of the hardest injuries to come back from and be the same player you were before. We've seen it happen too many times where players go down with that injury and they're just not the same, unfortunately, because that tendon is very fragile. But I think this is a really promising sign, even if it is against BU. To see her doing that basically effortlessly is it's a really good sign for this team.
And we definitely heard all the hype after our first episode, so it is pretty awesome to see her come in and dominate right away. And a little bit of a question mark that was in the front court kind of slowly dissipate as the season now begins.
Yeah, to your point, in that our last episode, the front court preview, all we talked about was what is this going to look like without Aaliyah Edwards? Who's going to step up? Is this going to be the weakness of our team? Through 40 minutes, I'd say it's the strength of our team. I mean, Sarah Strong, 17. She does things that I know she's not a center per se, but she's the tallest player out there for us. She's acting as a center. She does things that centers aren't supposed to do. She had a couple of steals where she went coast to coast. She knocked down that three in the second half, just doing things that I said this before, I'll say it again. Just she didn't look like a freshman out there playing her first game. She looked like someone who's been in the system for a long time. And I realized that's why Geno recruited her because she's so talented. But Alfy as well. I mean, with Strong playing so well, she may warrant more minutes in bigger games. That means less minutes for Alfy. So Alfy really had to step it up in this one, and she did. Double double, like you guys said, 5 offensive rebounds. I mean, sure that may be part EU, and she's 6'5", but we're gonna still be hyped that this was a double double in her debut. Just two awesome debuts in the front court.
And a huge another question coming into the season was obviously Paige Becker's final season. You feel like it should be a lot of pressure on her, but with this much talent and that much talent in the front court, I find it hard to believe that she isn't, kind of basking and being able to sit back and kind of enjoy watching everybody else play, while still being Paige.
And I think just with her, like her general basketball skills are just like I don't even know how to describe them. They're insane. Obviously 13 points isn't like a massive game, but she was way more passive in that game. I mean, we all watched it. We saw the no look passes she made and just effortlessly making layups. Like if she's just doing that against teams like that, like she is easily the most talented player in women's basketball. I still think that she was last year, but I still think she's the most talented player in women's basketball. And I think this game wasn't really a fair assessment. I've seen the people on Twitter comparing, who to Paige's first game, and it's just a load of garbage. And I can't wait until we play a good team and she puts 30 on somebody. But just seeing her playing like that is just another really good sign for this team.
And if you were to told me at any point in this season that UConn would win by 50, well, first of all, I believe you because this team's just that good. But if you were to tell me they win by 50 plus and Paige Beckers would be the third leading scorer with just 13 points, I'd probably say you're insane because that's how important she is to this team. She can easily go for 25 a night, 20, at least 20 a night, I feel like every night. For her to only get 13, sure, she did other stuff. She had 7 assists, handling the ball a lot, 5 steals, a lot of steals in this one for the Huskies, 25 steals to the Terriers, 12 made field goals. I found that stat kind of funny. But yeah, Paige, the fact that she doesn't have to do all this scoring and we could still win by such a margin is something I feel like is a little overlooked in this one.
And that was a big kind of focus at media day. Everyone was kind of curious about the pressure that's on her going into this final season and how she feels. And you could tell that it's definitely a focus throughout the whole squad. Everybody, they didn't deny the elephant in the room, but I think that and her answer, was mainly focused around, just enjoying it and enjoying the last season and being able to play with all this talent. And that it's definitely, a change of environment that I think the team needed coming off of last year's Final Four loss.
I think the whole enjoying it thing is obvious. Obviously, she wants to enjoy it because we know she's had an up and down career with injuries. But I think at the bottom of her heart is that lion that wants to break out of the cage and win the national championship and just completely run through women's basketball and prove that she's the best because she has had 4 years to come here and win a national championship and we haven't. And I think this is the year where she realized that she's finally got the horses that can help her. And I really think that at the bottom of her heart, she's really dead focused on that national championship.
Yeah, I feel like for her especially, she wants that title, but for the program as well. I was at the men's opener for their banner night and seeing them unveil that sixth banner, and I look over across the arena. The woman, sure they have more, they have 11 of them, but none since 2016. We're coming on to the ninth season since they've won, so that's a long time. That's obviously it's a long time for any program, but for UConn, who's this dominant UConn, the dominant women's program, to not have won in nearly a decade, I feel like this is one of their best shots they're going to have in a long time. I know there's no Caitlin Clark anymore. It feels like it's a little more open in the women's field. I feel like UConn can really step up and take it this year. I feel like obviously we're speaking based off of a game versus Boston University, missing 3 or 4 players, but yeah, just that's the vibes I'm getting from this team early. Maybe vibes we didn't see in the past couple of years, at least for a couple of those seasons. Sure, obviously they're always going to be contenders, but you can usually tell early on if a team's really going to compete for a title. But we'll talk about some of the other players we haven't touched upon yet. Caitlin Chen was in the starting lineup for her UConn debut. Played 20 minutes, had 5 assists, 4 points. Solid overall debut. Again, didn't need too much scoring from her to win, which is also good. Ashlyn Shade was in the starting lineup as we expected. She played a team high 30 minutes, 10 points, 6 steals. Just I don't think you'll get 6 steals from her every night, but just you'll usually get around that 10-point margin. Who else haven't we talked about? Ice Brady, the final starter we haven't mentioned. She didn't have her best game, and we said that same exact line after the Fort Hays State game. Not her best performance. She only had 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. So it's not bad by any means. But looking at all the other players, she probably was one of the worst ones. I hate using that word worse because they won by 50, but just looking at all the players, I feel like that's true.
And the two freshmen as well, Zebel and Shelley got out there, put up efficient minutes, both hit a three. So I feel like there were positive signs from them as well. Probably won't play, 15, 20 minutes when we do get returners and the games begin to get more serious. But it was still, good to see them get out there.
Yeah, Geno is used to playing his starters a lot of minutes. They didn't play too much in this one, but even with everyone healthy, I imagine Paige is going to play 30 plus if not something horrible happened. I feel like Sarah Strong almost has to play 30 plus, seeing how she played tonight. Ashlyn Shade, I feel like will be around that number as well. So those freshmen at the end of the bench probably won't play as much, like you said, Matt, but performing in games like these matters. I feel like if either Zybel or Chelly Zybel finished with 6 points. She made 2 threes. Chelly made a three in the first half for 3 points for herself. If they don't perform in a game like this, why is Geno going to trust them against USC or against South Carolina? So obviously, you don't get much from performing against Boston University, but it matters in the long run.
That's exactly right. People say these games are cupcakes, but they're also like figuring out rotation games because this team once we hit Big East play is going to have a lot more than what. So 10 people got into this one. We're going to have Caroline, AZ, and Aubrey Griffin back. So it's 13. You're not going to play 13 players a game. So four people are going to get pretty much cut out of this rotation. So, it's not everybody's spot is safe this year. Obviously, last year is completely different, but these games are not just these buy cupcake win games. They're also kind of, figuring out who's going to play when it really matters time.
Yeah, I agree. And the last two players we haven't at least mentioned by name yet. KK Arnold came off the bench as we expected after her solid freshman season. She's 21 minutes, scored 4 points, had 5 assists. She's always going to find the open teammate and get those assists as she did last year. And Caden Samuel, just 11 minutes, but she did knock down 2 threes. So all in all, a great team effort, a great team win, great energy at the XL Center. You guys got anything else about this game before I move on? We will move on then to the next game. We'll do a quick little preview. This game will be tomorrow, probably, or even today. I don't know when I'm releasing this, but Sunday, UConn has their Gampel debut for the season, taking on former American Conference foe South Florida. This is another game that should be a fairly easy one, not as easy as BU. If you guys remember back in the American days, South Florida was usually like the next team after UConn in the standings. They had a multiple year stretch under Coach Jose Fernandez where they made the tournament in years UConn won the American tournament. So they made it in as an at-large. So definitely not a game to overlook. Should the Huskies have any problems in this game? Probably not. But we'll talk about some players to watch for this one after seeing that first game against BU. You guys got any players to watch? Any that stick out? I'll let you guys decide who goes first.
Yeah, I think Jana is definitely the player to watch here after that dominant first game. We've heard all the hype, and we got a little taste of the hype, but I feel like moving forward. You mentioned before we started recording that you're not sure how much longer Ice Brady's going to hold down that starting role. I seem to agree with you. I want to see Jana play, another 20-25 minutes. If she can, put up another double-double again, then we'll see pretty soon. But I don't know. It's things are starting to get interesting over there.
Honestly, just because she only got 13 in the BU game, I'm going to take Paige for this one. I think she's going to put up somewhere to 22 to 27, somewhere in that range. And the people are going to call her a ball hog because that's what people do. But first game in Gampel of the season, I'm excited to watch. I believe Saturday at 4:30. I believe we have a double header,
Sunday
if I'm not
for the
mistaken.
women.
It's Sunday. Okay.
And my player to watch, not really contrary to what Matt said, but you mentioned I think Alfy could enter the lineup. I'm going to go with Ice Brady because she's had 2 games in a row where she probably hasn't had the best performance she's wanted. This is another opportunity, 3 days later to have that opportunity to do better. I feel like she's due for a double figure scoring output. Obviously, with Paige finding her inside, KK Arnold, there's the guards to get her down there. The front court seemed to be a point of emphasis, I'm trying to say, in that game versus BU. Sarah Strong, 12 field goal attempts, LLP 14. So, yeah, I'm going to go Ice Brady. You guys got anything else? First recap episode of Geno's guys. I don't have anything else either. Great first team win against BU. Next episode for us, we'll definitely do one after the South Florida game because next Friday there's a massive game against number 15 North Carolina. We'll certainly be previewing for you guys. So look for a recap of the next game versus USF, a preview of UNC in that same video sometime, probably early next week. But yeah, that's all we got for you guys. Thanks for watching.